Welcome to the Burrillville School Committee, May 14th, 2019, 6:30 p.m. regular session, Burrillville High School Media Center, 425 East Avenue, Harrisville, Rhode Island. Members present, all. Please join us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Item 2, recognition. We look forward to doing this each year. The highlight of our year, one of the many highlights, recognition. This is for the Teacher of the Year. So each year, our district selection committee faces the difficult task of naming one outstanding Teacher of the Year from a pool of nominees. This year, the task was especially challenging because all 4 nominees have set themselves apart as exceptional educators and leaders in our schools. This evening, we recognize them all. From Austin T. Lee School, we recognize Mrs. Patricia Rendine. Thank you. Over her 19 years of providing speech and language therapy to the students of Burrillville, Trish has truly taken to her heart her role as a member of the Levy team, and she is always ready to do whatever is necessary to provide the students of Burrillville with the best education possible. Trish has a deep understanding of how our youngest children learn, incorporating play and fun into her sessions so that her preschoolers can integrate multiple skills and modalities. She contributes to the profession by routinely volunteering to supervise aspiring clinicians and recruiting the best of her students for Burrillville. Thank you. Next, we have Mrs. Kim Gould from Steer Farm Elementary School. Kim has been teaching in Burrillville since 1992. As both a special educated teacher and an elementary classroom teacher, she has strived every day to show her students how to be in charge of their own learning. Knowing that she has made a difference in the lives of her students is the most precious gift she can receive from them. Kim believes strongly in the power of collaboration with her colleagues, and they speak so highly of her. Thank you, Kim. For the past 20 years, Mr. Ryan McNulty has been teaching general science, chemistry, astronomy, and geology at Burrillville High School. Ryan's belief that his school and his class are enjoyable places to be is evident every day in his interactions with students and colleagues. He is always reading up on the new developments in his field and taking classes to expand his content knowledge. Modeling for his students is that a love of learning itself is the most meaningful thing a teacher can pass on to students. Ryan's colleagues have many good things to say about him. Thank you, Ryan. Reviewing the accomplishments of our outstanding Burrillville educators is a humbling experience, and one that reinforces our pride in this educational community. Mrs. Rendine, Mrs. Gould, and Mr. McNulty, we are very lucky to have you in Burrillville. Congratulations on your many accomplishments, and thank you for all that you do for our children each and every day. Thank you. And now, present to the Burrillville School Committee from Dr. Solito, I am proud to recommend to you the 2019-2020 Burrillville Teacher of the Year, Mr. Kyle Wilson. Since 2008, Mr. Kyle Wilson has been inspiring the students of Burrillville. In his classes and in the relationships he builds with his students, his passion for technology and his great love of teaching shine through. Mr. Wilson is a shining example of what it means to be an outstanding teacher. He works tirelessly to strike a balance between holding his students to rigorous standards and creating a nurturing environment within which those expectations can be met. For him, teaching is not just about getting his students through a required class. It's about bringing humility, empathy, and a growth mindset into his classroom and encouraging his students to do the same. On any given day, anyone could walk through Kyle's class and hear him asking his students not just what the answer is, but whether they've had any aha moments as they've worked to solve problems. Kyle knows that solutions don't always come quickly, and that productive struggle is a good thing, a real-life skill for his students. He constantly strives to make his classroom a place where his students have the chance to become the agents of their own learning. Kyle? Presented, congratulations to Kyle Wilson, Burrillville's Outstanding Teacher of the Year 2020. An outstanding teacher takes a hand, opens a mind, and touches a heart. Author unknown. Thank you very much.
Congratulations, Kyle. Congratulations and thank you.
Congratulations and thank you too.
Item 3, consent agenda. Approval of minutes, warrants and invoices, bids.
Mr. Chair, motion to approve the minutes of the regular meeting, April 9th, 2019, and the budget workshop minutes for April 25th, 2019. Also, approval of warrant number 10 for the month of April dated May 14th, 2019, in the amount of $2,562,359.02. And approval of the following bids. Approve a 2-year bid for fuel oil to Dennis K. Burke from Taunton, Mass. In the amount of $2.27.5 for 50% of the consumption. Approval of the bid for Dominion Controllers to Hub Tech Southeastern Mass. In the amount of $31,023.14. And approval of the bid for Ruckus Wireless Infrastructure to Oakers Technology, Brockton, Mass. In the amount of $76,885.70.
Second?
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? None, all in
I have
favor?
one. I have one. Both contingent on funding. Is the funding there?
Yes, this is for fiscal year 19, so these have already been funded as part of the budget.
Okay, thank you.
The funding, excuse me, the funding is also contingent on E-rate funding. So if that's approved, we haven't received approval, that usually takes some time.
Okay, thank you.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
I can recuse myself from the budget workshop, please.
Okay. Item 4, presentations by the public to the school committee. Having none this evening. Item 5, public comment. Anyone wishing to speak this evening? Having none. Item 6, personnel. Appointments, leaves of absence, retirements, resignations.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion to approve the following appointments. David Alba, Director of People Personnel Services, effective July 1st, 2019, and Mark Main, Information Systems Analyst, effective date to be determined.
Second.
Motion second, any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Mr. Chair, I'd also like to make a motion to approve the following appointments for the extended school year program as presented.
Second.
Motion is second, any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Mr. Chair, make a motion to approve the following athletic appointments for the 2018-2019 school year. Brian Gill, tennis assistant coach at Burrillville High School, in the amount of $1,908.50.
Second.
Motion is second, discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye. And Mr. Chair, make a motion to approve the following athletic appointments for the 2019-2020 school year as presented.
Second.
Motion is second, any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Next item, non-renewals.
Mr. Chair, motion to approve with regret.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Item 7, old business. Appointments. Old business. Fiscal year 19 BSD budget update.
Motion open.
Second.
Motion open is second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Accept the motion to receive and file, barring any questions.
I was- Motion to approve to allow the business manager to adjust the budget line items to balance the budget for 2019. And also, she anticipates using all of the town's set-aside amount of $150,000 for out-of-district tuitions. And may still have to use some undesignated funds to balance the budget.
We'll need a motion on this one.
Motion's already on the table.
Motion, we have a second.
Second.
Discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Fiscal year 19 rink budget update.
Motion open.
Second.
Motion open is second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So moved.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
By
So
Miko.
someone make the motion.
Motion to
So
receive and
moved.
file.
Yeah, so, all right.
The motion is second. Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
They said so moved to Robin's motion. Next item, P5115, Superintendent Search, revised first reading.
Chair, make a motion to approve policy P5115, superintendent search, revised first reading, and dispense with the reading.
Second.
Motion is second, discussion? Having, Alex?
I just have a quick question. Just thinking out loud, my only concern or remaining question is a paragraph that starts with the screening committee. And again, it talks about the certification. So if the applicant or candidate that we think is best suited for the position doesn't attain that certification prior to the first day of work, what, do we just go back to the pool of candidates we had before?
Donnison? What was your?
Yeah, I think the discussion we had regarding this centered around the changes at RIDE, which, with respect to the reciprocity for Connecticut and Massachusetts candidates. That is a pretty straightforward process, and I think that was the basis by which we were comfortable with the wording on that. If it's from somebody out of state, and you may correct me if I'm wrong on this, Dr. Slato, but that would be handled perhaps a little bit more in depth to be sure that those
Right, so
criteria
it
be
depends
met.
on which state the certificate is from. There are some states that have automatic reciprocity with Department of Ed in Rhode Island, and some that require more of an audit of their credentials. So for example, Connecticut and Massachusetts now have reciprocity, Florida has reciprocity, but other states, like New York, for example, does not. They would have to do an audit of their educational credentials to see if they qualify for the superintendent certificate.
So it would have to be an individual whose reciprocity was accepted by the state of Rhode Island.
I don't know if that's
Well,
worded that way.
Well,
I think
maybe
it has
should-
to
well,
have
maybe
a,
it should be,
Maybe we
because,
should.
I mean, down the
Sure.
road, there may be many more
Mhm.
states which qualify, so.
So they have to, not to keep discussing this, but they need to hold a state superintendent certification, and then through reciprocity, they'll earn a Rhode Island.
correct,
Rhode
they'll be
I-
awarded the
through
Rhode
Rhode
Island
Island approved.
certification prior to them beginning work. So if their start date was, say, July 1 start date, they would have to have the Rhode Island certification complete by July 1.
we
And then
could
if they
amend the
don't, do we
language.
just go back to that overarching pool of candidates and?
I think the
and
committee would have a decision to make at that point if they don't reach it, if they don't have the certification.
Do we think
That
that
would
should
be
be
in violation
included, or
of
do
the-
we
of
think
the
that's
policy.
too specific?
We could amend the language just simply to read to a Rhode Island approved reciprocity state.
I just think this is a section of it that we have to be really careful about and really specific with. So if the policy subcommittee and Dr. Salito, if you feel like this is specific enough, then that's fine as is. I just figured I'd ask the question, should we be more specific and outline what do we do if, they don't attain that certification by day one?
I think,
My recommendation would be to put a sentence in there at the end of that paragraph that reads something to the effect of applicants that do not receive a valid Rhode Island certification prior to their start date will not be employed by the Burrillville School Department. Really puts the onus on the applicant to get the certification prior to their start date.
I think that also puts the onus on us as a committee to be sure that they've demonstrated that they have a definitive process by which to accomplish that, right? I mean, so they can come to us with a timeline that they can fulfill, and that RIDE could also respond and say that this candidate should be able to, I think that's, I don't know if we want to add all that in, but I'm thinking that making sure that the Rhode Island certification is
Chair, if I
there.
may. When the candidates have been selected, there's usually 3, maybe 4 candidates that come before the school committee, and there will be a first, second, third, maybe a 4th place. And I think in the past, what we've done is we make the final decision, and through questioning them, we have always asked about their certificate for the Rhode Island. So I don't think that would really be a great problem, but if it did become a problem, your second choice may be what you would do. Because they didn't follow the direction of getting it done, then you would look at your second choice.
Right, and I think to Alex's point, it's the time lapse in between
Mhm.
of a selection, that there may be a period of time of a month that might go by
Right.
where the school committee could be in a position where we don't have a superintendent. Now we kind of have to go to position number 2, who may already be hired. because-
Right,
Somewhere
if we're
else.
looking,
Right,
right,
because
for them to
most of
start on
these
July
posts-
1, and they tell us on June 28th,
Right, right.
and we need somebody in that position, even though Dr. Salito's going to be here for 15 years, I mean.
That's the hope.
But because we're not in an excessive hurry for this, it might not be a bad idea for the policy subcommittee to have a look at that screening subcommittee section of it and address these comments by Alex and Dr. Slito and Ms. Cotton.
Just a recommendation, if you'd like, I can revise some of that language to capture the discussion today and send it to the policy subcommittee
Yeah.
for review. And then if we could approve the first reading tonight pursuant to those changes.
I will withdraw my motion and say that it will be returned to the policy subcommittee for revision of that particular statement on the screening committee, and be returned to the school committee for approval.
Second.
Have a motion to second. Any further discussion? Having none, all.
Just to say that any thoughts on that, send them my way, too.
Okay.
So,
Yeah.
anything else, so.
No, I do appreciate, I know I had a lot of comments the first go-around, so I do appreciate seeing them
Sure.
incorporated. I think it looks great.
Yep.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Next item, superintendent's report.
Motion to open?
Motion to open,
Second?
and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, thank you all. I have a number of items on my report this evening. I'll start with a budget update. As you're all aware, we'll be presenting our budget to the Town Council on May 30th. We'll be requesting an increase of just over $1.1 million over the FY19 allocation. We're also requesting $200,000 in a set-aside account to offset a rise in special education costs. For this coming year, FY20, our state aid has increased by just over $636,000, which means that our request of $1.1 million equates to an increase in the property tax of just over $516,000. So at the May 30th meeting, I will detail the budget cuts that were made to get us down to this point. I will detail where we were when our initial conversations began earlier this year and how we got to where we are now. Our contractual obligations, if we level fund all other areas, calls for just about a $1.1 million increase. That's not including other ancillary costs such as utilities, maintenance requirements, and et cetera. To get to this point, we have eliminated all requests to increase staff and supports. We've also eliminated a custodian position and a bus route for next year. The current budget from the town manager increases the school budget by $728,000 approximately, as it was recommended by the budget board. If there's no further movement in the budget and our allocation is indeed the recommended $728,000, we will need to cut an additional $424,000 from our existing budget. That equates to about 5 teaching positions. If this is the case, positions to eliminate would include the high school automotive program, a middle school foreign language position, elementary classroom teacher position, a high school mathematics position, and the 5th position would be determined at a later time based on student enrollment numbers. So obviously our sincere hope is that the town funds us fully with the $1.1 million request, and then we can keep all of the services that we currently have for students and staff in place. But the difference between the recommendation from both the town manager and the budget board and what we need really to function and to operate at the same level we are this year, there's a $424,000 difference. So that will be our pitch on May 30th. I'll have a detailed explanation to the town council, a PowerPoint that Robin and I have put together, similar to what was shared at our budget workshop. I'd also recommend that we have a meeting of the budget subcommittee next week to discuss the final presentation. So not a lot of good news with the budget, but again, our hope is that the town will fully fund the $1.1 million increase, and at the very minimum budge off the $728,000 recommendation. Any questions on the budget or the budget update? Okay, moving on. Next item, a CTE, a Career and Technical Education update. At the Board of Trustees meeting on May 11th, our biomedical program was granted full approval by the Department of Ed. I know I had mentioned in a previous meeting and in some of our weekly communications that the biomedical program was not approved and that I had challenged that with the Department of Ed. So really excited and happy that the RIDE granted us full approval. It joins criminal justice as our second newly approved program for this year, bringing our total RIDE-approved CTE programs to 5. We currently have a handful of out-of-district student applications. I believe we have 5. And we are advertising in the Woonsocket Call, both print and online editions, to further promote our programs to out-of-district students. Ads will be running for 10 days from May 17th through May 26th. Any questions on the CTE update?
How many did you say we had now?
We have 5 approved programs.
5 approved?
2 that were newly approved this year.
Are we looking at any other places to advertise for this out of district?
It's very costly, in all honesty. I did contact our PR firm that did the videos for us, and they wanted about $2,000 a month. Wanted $8,000 basically to promote on social media campaign. So we're trying to go with the print edition, which is about $200 a day. That's coming out of our CTE line item budget.
Okay.
So any more advertising that we do, it comes at a cost. And for our current budget, we're probably going to run a deficit this year, so we just don't have the money.
I just think that the programs are so.
I agree. Hopefully we get,
Yeah, and I'd love to see
our
some.
goal is to get 10 out-of-district students. Like I said, I believe we have 4 or 5 now. So hopefully this advertisement will put us over the top and get us another 4 or 5
I
students.
just might add that word of mouth from school committee members and our constituents, members of the public, administrators, teachers, etc. That'll probably be our best advertisement.
Could we put an article in the newspaper about the programs? What programs we offer and our brand-new
Are we
programs?
talking about the Projo?
About
Which newspaper?
CTE,
Yeah, but which
either
newspaper?
Projo, Woonsocket, or even in the Valley Breeze.
So we're running an
or
ad in the
Observer?
Woonsocket Call, but an article, I'm not sure. I could contact them to see if they'd be interested. Woonsocket Call, probably not. The Breeze doesn't cover us at all. And, I mean, I do have somewhat of a contact with the Projo, someone that reported there. I can give her a call, see if you'd be interested, but it may be a
Well-
tough sell, because everyone's in the same boat. Everyone's trying to promote their programs.
Okay, it's just a thing that I've seen, like, new restaurants opening up and they have an article for the whole restaurant. And it's almost like it is advertisement, but it's a
Right.
news
Yep.
article.
I'll make a call and see what we can do. Can't hurt to ask.
Have we spoken to, like, the parents? Have we given the parents this information? I know locally we have, but a lot of the people from town have family outside of town that they can, their niece or nephew is interested in this program. No, well, Burrillville is,
So we presented to our 8th graders. Our high school team went down and presented to our 8th graders, and we presented to Woonsocket High School, 9th grade class, Woonsocket, middle school and high school. But other than that, that's pretty much all we've done. We are going to have a booth at the Family Fair in June to advertise some of our programs there, and we're hoping that the ad really takes off. It's something that online can be shared in social media. I've also got Justin looking into Facebook advertisement, how that works and what that would cost us, and if you can target particular groups of people through their profiles that have a certain age of students that may be interested.
I know there's a
But
couple of
it's-
online things on Facebook, NRI.
NRI Now?
Now?
Yeah,
Is
I could reach out to Sandy. I'm sure she would do an article on
Yeah,
it.
she does a lot of things like that, so it might be worth the shot.
Don?
Dr. Slater, is there a date by which there's a cutoff for enrollments, like anyone interested?
It honestly depends on what the enrollment is for each individual program. So obviously, Burrillville students get preference, and then any room, depending on how many seats we have left. So, I mean, ideally, we'd like to have the shell of the schedule done by, at the latest, mid to late June. I mean, there's always some influx and some flexibility during the summer, but there may be limited amounts of seats. We're not sure what those numbers are going to look like yet.
So we're really trying to capture these people in the next 60 days,
Sure.
essentially, even less.
Yeah, and then we can schedule, we can forecast a little better once we know what our enrollment will be.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, moving on, next item on my report. Memorandum of Agreement. Bill Robinson and Robin Commission and I met with Joe De Silva from the Department of Ed. He is in charge of the Office of Construction. We reviewed different Department of Ed regs and requirements as they relate to the development of our 5-year facility master plan. Basically, we want to make sure that we do not miss out on any opportunity for reimbursable monies. So to this end, under new business is an MOA with RIDE regarding technical assistance with an approved value of $100,000 of reimbursement. What this means, in short, is that we can be reimbursed $100,000 towards architecture, engineering, and educational planning services, which is required for our 5-year facility master plan. So what we're asking in the new business today is for the school committee to approve that and to sign it. We're going to hold on to that until we have more concrete numbers of what exactly that facility master plan is going to entail, what costs that would be, and then ultimately we will send it to the town council for their final approval. So the reimbursement, I think it would be a mistake to leave $100,000 potential reimbursement on the table. So this, signing of this MOA would be the first step to allow us to really investigate how we would get our hands on that reimbursement. It was a very productive meeting with Mr. De Silva over at RIDE, talking about what paperwork and regs have to go through. It's a change this year for our 5-year facility master plan, so we're all kind of learning together what these new regulations are. But this MOA would be step number 1. Step number 2 would be figuring out what services we would need and what costs those would be at. Once we have a number that's in excess of the $100,000, we'd present that to the town council for their approval, and then get reimbursed $100,000 on that towards facility master planning. So our cycle, it's a 5-year cycle, and right now we're ending our 5th year of the facility master plan. Next year we'll be beginning first year of a 5-year plan. Bill, did I capture that correctly? It's a mouthful.
And a question related to that, how does this, or does this play into the requirement that we have for
Maintenance, the
maintenance?
1.5%,
Yeah,
it's
is
entirely
this-
separate.
It's a separate issue, okay.
Mhm.
Thanks.
I'll entertain a motion.
Make a motion to accept?
It's actually listed under new business, if we can wait till, I think we need to wait till new business.
It's under new
Okay.
business.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Okay, last item on my report, as we know, first week of May marks Teacher Appreciation Week, and culminating with our Teacher of the Year. So again, congratulations to all our nominees and to Kyle on his award as Teacher of the Year for 2020. Just want to express our sincere appreciation, all the amazing work that our teachers perform day in and day out. We have a fantastic faculty across the district, and it does not go unnoticed by our administration. So I wanted to take an opportunity to thank them and let them know that they are certainly appreciated. To that end, we also had this past week a Golden Apple Award winner at the high school, and that will be airing, it's Mr. Ferraro, and that will be airing at 6 o'clock on Thursday on Channel 10. And that concludes my report.
Does anyone have any questions for Dr. Salito? Hearing none. Next item, 9, administrator reports.
Mr. Chair, I make a motion to receive and file with a huge thank you to all the administrative staff, to the students for all their great educational information, their beautiful artwork, information about sports, and other projects that are presented in these reports. They are greatly appreciated. Gives me a great understanding as to what is happening in our schools. Motion to approve, to receive and file.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
I just have a question.
All right.
On the Callahan School, as I was looking through it, the very last page, the DOT crosswalk, I don't know if maybe we should take this, we haven't had a traffic and safety meeting, and I don't know if we want to bring that to the traffic and safety
When
subcommittee.
is that?
Only because I have some other suggestions for that. If we're going to be looking at the crosswalk at that time, maybe we can bring in all the other suggestions, because it is outside of Callahan School in the morning, and I don't know if
Dave just left.
Dave is still here, but in the morning, it's hard. I don't know, more parents are bringing their kids to school today, and it's a lot of traffic, a lot of kids crossing, buses, cars. Then in the afternoon, it's even a little more difficult during football season and baseball season, where you have the kids there parking their cars to go into the field, so.
Sure.
Okay.
Great idea.
If you don't mind me just suggesting and adding to that was the concern on East Ave, with kids crossing there.
Yeah.
There is no crosswalk there, and so
Yeah.
maybe there's a,
Parking, the parents that line up on East Avenue, and, yeah. Got some good ideas about that. and
Yeah.
I'll
I'm
add
sure
both of
they'll all be
those-
brought up at
Yep,
the.
I'll add both of those items to the agenda of the next Traffic Safety Committee meeting.
Right, good.
okay, all right, thank you.
Anyone else? Alex?
I just wanted to congratulate the Burrillville High School Unified Basketball Team. They placed second in the state championship tournament, so I'd be remiss if I didn't congratulate them.
It's a great game. It was tied with about a minute and a half, 2 minutes left, so close game.
That's great.
Yeah.
All in favor?
Aye.
Next item, reports of school committee subcommittees. Policy subcommittee meeting notes.
Motion to receive and file.
Second?
Motion is second. Discussion. Having none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Health and Wellness Subcommittee, meeting minutes.
Motion to receive and file.
Second?
Motion is second. Any discussion? Alex?
I know it's outlined in the meeting minutes, but I just wanted to share that the Rad Kids program that I had talked about last month has been postponed until the fall due to a lack of enrollment by families. So we're going to work really hard this summer and this fall to promote the program, and we're hoping that more families will be able to sign up. We don't know if it's due to spring and summer sports or after-school activities. But similar to Dr. Solito participating in the family fair with the CTE programs, I'm hoping to sign up for a booth to share the Rad Kids program and maybe have families sign up on the spot. I'm out of town that day, so if anyone in the schools would like to man that booth, I'd be greatly appreciated. But if not, maybe we can put some handouts out at the CTE program table. And our subcommittee goal for next school year is student involvement. So to get 1 or 2 student reps throughout the district to come to our meetings and give some insights.
Great. Good. Anyone else? Having none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Item 11, correspondence, communications. Would like to congratulate Terry Lacy on her graduation from the Rhode Island Associated School Committee's Leadership Academy.
Hey.
Thank you.
It's a lot of fun.
I'm enjoying it.
Great.
Good for you.
I have a, Alex, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
All right. I have another, we all receive our, first I'll go back to the memo or the manager's town budget that we all received, I'm assuming, right? So we did receive that, and I'm sure that it's alarming to most of us. And how we're going to solve some of these financial issues is going to be of great concern. It's going to take a lot of work. But I do think that that this committee at the May 30th meeting could, maybe not just one person, but maybe more of us could speak to your beliefs and to your strengths in what we have here. It's about the advocacy. You know, we have in our school board members memo that we read every month, and I was especially enlightened by the don't overlook our advocacy. You know, we're elected officials of this town. We have a large contingency of voters between us. We're here because we want to see the schools do better, and we want them to be supported adequately. So I think that as part of our advocacy, we could express to the town council, whose decision it is ultimately to fund us. It's not the town manager's recommendation, it's not the budget board's recommendation, it's the town council. They answer to the same people we do, the taxpayers and the voters. So I think our advocacy is going to be very, very important in this. I was also given much support by some members of the school committee at a Rhode Island Association School Committee meeting where I was kind of feeling like we're against a stone wall. We have so much coming down from the ride mandates, and the state seems to always be giving us a kick every time we turn around with financing and the things they do. And I was uplifted by fellow members of the school committee to say, you know, don't let it get you. You still have to advocate for the schools. You still have to talk to your representatives. You still have to talk to the other town council members, because that's what counts. And ultimately, we are heard. Our voices are heard. So I think that that's important, especially right now, for us to advocate for the schools and for our funding. I think it's important that we advocate to our state representatives, because they're sitting up there, they're voting on some of these things that make absolutely no sense. They cost the schools and the towns and municipalities a lot of money, and they're just not really answering to anyone. So I think in the future, I would like to see under our appointments where individuals of the school committee who have a special relationship maybe with a certain town representative or a senator from the district, that we tie that person up as part of your position to advocate for us and to keep in constant communication with them and let them know our feelings on decisions they're making, the votes they're taking up there. So I'd like to add that. I'd also like to be able to invite our legislators and our representatives to a school committee meeting so that we can tell them that, some of the things that's being done at the State House is really harmful to the schools and to our communities, and
Mr. Chair, if I may,
yes,
when we advocate, we should be advocating for the students in our schools. They are the most important part of the educational system. The type of education that they get, the safety that we provide for them on a daily basis. Advocating for the school budget and all that, that's taken under consideration, but the student, the education we provide is the most important thing that we do, is our students'
agree.
education and safety.
I agree. So, in the unfortunate situation, we can't do the latter without the money, so.
Well, that's kind of one of those things that goes
Yeah.
along with, if you're going to give
Yes.
your student the best educational process, you have to pay for that.
Right.
And being a taxpayer in the town, I understand that. We all are taxpayers in this town. We all understand that our tax dollars are giving our students the best education because our staff is working very hard at doing that. So we should be not only advocating, we have to advocate for budgetary and all the other things that the state and the federal government mandate, blah, blah, blah. But it's our responsibility, the staff's responsibility, to look at our student and say, they come first.
So the bottom line of what I was saying is the students come first. So that's what
To sum it all
we're
up.
advocating for. So that's what we're advocating for, and we're doing it in that way, and I agree, absolutely.
I
think
know
we
you
all
do.
I think we all agree with that. So I think we need to invite our state representatives to a school committee meeting. So I think that I would like to see us increase our advocacy for the students at both the town council level and the state level. And hopefully we can make a few changes that will allow that. And that's all I have. Anyone else?
That's plenty.
Alex?
I just have a few quick things. I had sent some photographs to Dr. Solito to include in our weekly packet from last week or the week before. Some of the photos were from the Eccleston Fieldhouse dedication, where Mr. George Ducharme was recognized. I couldn't be there, but the photos looked awesome, and it was definitely deserved in every way. So congratulations to Mr. Ducharme. On April 24th, we had our first district-wide CTE robotics night, which I thought was a huge success. Terry was there, and there were representatives from all grade levels, which I thought was great. So the middle school and high schoolers had booths out in the lobbies, and then the elementary school students fought each other's robots, which I thought was great.
They battled.
Battled? I don't know the proper robotic terminology. But I thought it was great, so thanks to all involved. And I think it's a great way to expand our program in the coming years. So I know Dr. Solito has some big plans for that. And lastly, Rhode Island College had a technology expo on April 25th from 5:30 to 7:30 p.m. We had two of our teachers from Levy in the K and first grade classrooms, Amanda Martins and Joan Supernat. They presented on mini iPads. Specifically two programs, one being Lexia Core 5 and Osmo. So I just wanted to thank them for taking time after hours to go and educate future teachers on some of the programs and technologies we're using here in Burrillville. That's all I have.
That's not as much as I have. What else?
And also April 30th, we had the tobacco-free town hall at the library, and that was a huge success. They tripled the number of people from last year to come to the event, and it was, they had it set up, it was incredible to see. They had a room set up, they called it Hidden in Plain Sight. And they had, it was only for parents, none of the kids could go in there. They had a bed, it was made to look like a student's, teen's bedroom. And they showed you all the different things that, where kids hide their drugs or paraphernalia or whatever. And they talked about vaping was the big thing. And I find myself to be a pretty intelligent person. I just sat there with my jaw dropping when I saw how, I hate to use the word creative, but where these kids are hiding these things, and it was really amazing to see, and everybody who came through was so impressed with the way it was set up. She did, Monica did a great job, and everybody from BPAC that helped out did an outstanding job with it, so it was a good night for the town, and hopefully next year it'll just keep getting bigger and bigger whenever they do these town hall events. So, also, I did attend the Rhode Island Association of School Committee Members with Mark, the annual meeting, and my takeaway from the meeting was that our school is definitely headed in the right direction. I got some notes here, I wrote some notes down, but I'm not gonna read them all, obviously, but everything that they talked about, we had a gentleman come in from Massachusetts, Steve, I believe his name was Steve Mevlick, if I'm pronouncing that right, and he's talked about Massachusetts and how they implemented the Education Reform Act back in 1993, and it was a kind of a long, drawn-out thing, but the thing that struck me the most with both speakers, the gentleman from Massachusetts and the superintendent from Cumberland came in and gave a nice presentation. And the thing that they, I guess that they believe, and what helps is you have to stay the course. You pick a curriculum and you have to stay the course. And he was saying how Massachusetts scores have risen, and he says this has been since 1993. It's not just been something that happened, 5 years ago. So, to pick a curriculum and to stay the course, I think was the main theme of that whole.
It's not been perfect.
No, it hasn't. It hasn't. And they've had their ups and downs, and those are things he talked about, and, so, but the superintendent from Cumberland came in and he spoke, and some of the things that he talked about was from the superintendent down to the students, how it's all about communication, effective communication, everybody working together, and he kind of mirrored what the gentleman from Massachusetts was talking about, and how all the staff members at Cumberland High School, they all have a philosophy that we can do it, we can succeed, and they live by that. So I think it almost comes to what you were talking about, the advocacy, and, we have to be advocates, and, the teachers, and it comes from the top all the way down.
What stuck out to us was they had support from the
Right.
top down.
Right.
The state government was supporting this transformation, and in Cumberland, they had support for the teachers. There was a lot of professional development and
Yes.
math skills, et cetera. They have funding for a lot of things we don't have funding for, so hence they had a better outcome.
Right. The one thing, and it's not a critique, and I don't know, I could be wrong, I'm new here, but the one thing that I think that maybe we could use a little improvement on is, and it's not to anybody's fault or anything, but maybe hoping to get more parental involvement from the high school and the middle school especially. that's one of the things that seems to be a success, let's say, in Cumberland and, you know, the Massachusetts. Of course, Massachusetts has a statewide curriculum, and it looks like we're gonna be having that from all the legislation that's up in Providence, but, yeah, but maybe we could try to work on maybe some more parental involvement. I don't know, bounce some ideas around to see what we could do to get them more involved, because it seems it's working. You know, in Cumberland was a statistic that they had. They went from 13th in 2000 in, no, I'm sorry, 17th in 2015, and now they're in 4th. So that's a huge,
So if I could just talk to that for a second.
Sure.
So Cumberland is known throughout the state as being one of the districts that's shown a lot of growth in their
Right.
test scores over the last 4 or 5 years. So Mrs. Mayu actually visited with their curriculum director. His name's Tony DeMana, who's the assistant superintendent in Cumberland, and kind of went over what some of the things that they were doing there. We're doing a lot of the same work
Exactly.
that they're doing. They're a few years ahead of us. The big difference that, and Mrs. Mayu, correct me if I'm wrong, but one of the big differences that we noticed was that they have a lot more staff than we do. And a lot of that staff is administrative support staff and teacher support staff. So for example, a new math program that you're rolling out, they have math coaches at every level. We don't have a math coach in the district. And they're a district that is not that much bigger than us. So when Mr. Brazard is talking about the budget supporting the kids, I mean, that's kind of where it all comes together. So, you know, I'd love to be where Cumberland is, but here we are talking about cutting 5 teaching positions potentially, and, you know, a district like Cumberland has not just teachers for their kids, but coaches for their teachers in their classroom, who can go into a classroom and model how you're supposed to use a particular, lesson or curriculum or unit. And, you know, at the other end of the spectrum, we're actually cutting teachers that we need to provide basic services and supports to kids. So it is really all part of one cycle, you know, one big circle where we need the funding to provide the supports to get the kids in, you know, get the staff the support they need and get the kids the support and the scaffolding they need to bring them up to where we want them to be.
right.
So I agree with you. I'd love to be in the position they are. I think that we're doing a lot of things that they did early on, but the difference is we need to have some additional supports, and we need funding to do that.
One thing I will say, that listening to the gentleman from Massachusetts and the superintendent from Cumberland, we are, me and Mark both commented on that, everything they said, we were like, we're doing that, we're doing
We
that.
kept looking at each
So-
other like, yeah, we're there, yeah, we're doing it,
Yeah.
yeah, we're there.
So
we're doing
that was, you know, hopeful, you know, that gave
Yeah, no,
us,
I agree. We need a little extra push.
and we need time.
And we need some time. We need support and time.
I remember at last year's RIASC annual meeting, we had the superintendent from South Kingston who was kind of boasting that she had the weekend off the weekend before, and she cut 1.3 million out of her school budget over that
3.8.
weekend. And
It's 3.8, just so the record.
3.8 million. So we're like, really? We're looking at each other like, really? The million? So, yeah, she's not in that district anymore. She's moved on, and she's not superintendent in that district anymore. The district kind of tanked after that.
I did have the opportunity to talk to a couple other school committee members, and their concerns are the same concerns we have. We're all in the same boat. There's not a town out there that, you know, is living high on the hog, so to speak, with their budget. But we're doing good compared to some of these other districts, and this school committee is doing good.
And the bottom line of the whole story is we're doing good.
We're doing good. We're doing good. We're gonna
kids.
get there, yeah.
The kids are doing
kids.
good.
The kids are doing
students
good.
are doing good.
Yeah. So, but it was a nice meeting, and
It was.
it's
It was
always,
great.
yeah, it's always,
Good time. Sylvia, your turn. What?
I'm good.
Anyone else?
I'll just make a comment that I noticed that we're all cordially invited to the Burrillville School Department's annual art show on Sunday, May 19th. And that also coincides with, I think they're going to do for the first time food trucks, I think on that same day at the
Yeah.
Assembly.
the assembly. So, I mean, kudos to the town
Yeah.
council for pushing that. I think the Board of Administration's done a nice job promoting that, so it'd be nice to see some things going on in town that you can actually stay in town and not have to go anywhere for your entertainment, and so, those are my 2 cents, and I'll leave it at that.
At his point, that's why we stress to the parents to stay at Levy School, don't go to Rise. Keep them in town.
See, we
Makes
can
a
go
better
there, we can
community.
advocate
We can
while we're having
advocate
food
while we're
at the
having
food
hot
trucks,
dogs.
right? See,
That's right.
it's all coming
Little
together now.
Olympics.
Yeah, that's it.
Just throw it out there and come together.
No,
Okay.
I do have one question.
This is correspondence communication, not question and answer time.
Well, it's something that I'd like to have answered, or at least supported. There's a lot of publicity about Rhode Island's test scores are so abysmal and all of this stuff, but it's the first time we've ever taken this RICAS test. So, my question is, what were the scores like when Massachusetts first took their MCAS test? Were they as abysmal?
Almost exactly like ours were this past year.
So it's been unfair for the newspapers and everyone else who are out there to talk about the test scores in Rhode Island as being terrible.
I mean, I think it's, there were a lot of things that were said that were very accurate. Our scores really were not good. And that means that there's a lot of growth that still has to happen. But one of the points that the commissioner continually made, and Mary Ann Snyder at the time, and the other people from RIDE, was that this is where Massachusetts was 20 years ago when
Exactly.
they started. And the way that they got to the place that they're in now was by staying the course,
Yep.
making a commitment, enhancing curriculum, enhancing instruction, focusing on one assessment and staying with it. So I hope that that will continue, that will be
Right.
true for Rhode Island as well, that commitment that they've spoken about remains true, so that we can
Mhm.
get to where Massachusetts is now.
The time that they've had one assessment in Massachusetts, I think we've had probably 5. You can't hit a moving target. We change the assessment every 3 years, and this is, a new commissioner now for the 3rd commissioner in the last, 7 or 8 years. So, and the General Assembly really has to support this. In Massachusetts, the General Assembly supported the MCAS, and they didn't back down when, kids were failing in getting poor test scores. They didn't change the process. And when the Commissioner of Education tried to do that in Rhode Island, the General Assembly did the exact opposite. So it's a lot of reasons, I think, why our test scores are where they are. It's not as easy as saying, well, we should have done what Massachusetts did 20 years ago. You can't, it's not apples and apples.
So we should educate our legislators.
I didn't say that for the
It's an
record.
education. I would say
Sylvia's
it.
bottom line.
Sylvia did, and I support that
I
recommendation.
will. Thank you. Thank you, Jim.
We're going to move on to new business. First item, North Smithfield Resolution.
Motion to receive and file?
Second?
A motion, a second, any discussion? Having none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. North Kingstown Resolution.
Motion to receive and file?
Second?
Motion, second, any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Homeschool applications.
Motion to approve as presented?
Second?
Motion, second, any discussion? Having none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Approved student handbooks.
Motion to approve with those changes?
Second?
Motion, second, discussion?
Just a couple of little things. I figured I'll discuss it here because we'd have to all see the changes. A few small things that, I took pictures. If you don't mind, I'll just go in the order that I saw them. On page 60, this is of the student handbook for the Burrillville High School. In bold, at the bottom, under regarding telephone messages, it says that cell phones are prohibited at Burrillville High School. I'm thinking that's probably an old, outdated language, because it's pretty
They're not
much
prohibited, right?
universal now that, right? So I think that's That's a simple one.
Probably in that sentence right after it says teacher. Create conflict between the student and teacher, and
Yeah,
Rid of the
conflict between
phrase that
students
says,
as cell phones are
prohibited.
prohibited, right, that's not a factual statement anymore. The very next page, page 61, related to FERPA, I think which would be the fourth paragraph, the right to disclosures of personally identifiable information. I think what we're trying to say in there is the right to prohibit disclosure of personally identifiable information contained, because then it says, except to the extent that FERPA authorizes disclosure without consent. So I think what we're telling parents is that you have the right to prohibit disclosure of personally identifiable information.
I think that language was taken right from federal regs. And I can have Dr. Whaley check on that.
Yeah, it just doesn't seem consistent with the, except to the extent that FERPA authorizes disclosure without consent, because we're trying to tell parents you have the right to prohibit personally identifiable information from being disclosed, except where FERPA allows it, which FERPA allows it pretty much all over the place now, because I spend a lot of
I'll
time
have
on
them check that, but like I said, I'm pretty sure that's standard language, boilerplate language by the federal regs.
Okay, yeah, if you could, I think maybe I'll have to take it up with the feds then. No.
Good luck.
Yeah. Then this would be on page 63. It would be under terms and conditions. The third paragraph. It says electronic information research skills are not fundamental to preparation of citizens and future employees. I think that's probably supposed to say it is. Maybe I'm wrong, but I'm thinking that it is, right? Maybe at one time it wasn't, but today I think we would say that it would be.
Yeah, the second sentence kind of,
I'll check into that.
It says electronic information
along with
research
that.
skills are not fundamental to preparation of citizens and future employees, which I think that's probably not.
Probably an oversight, some language.
Yeah,
has
I'm only saying it out in the,
Sure.
there's 60 pages here, so I mean, you can easily miss stuff, but I was gonna take it up with you, but then we'd all have to see it anyway, so I may as well just run through it. I think, and the other thing was a lack of consistency between the middle school policy and the high school, and this is probably a no-brainer. Middle school, they struck out the description of the tank top shirts.
Yeah, we did that in the high school too, we caught that.
Is the high school done as well?
Yeah.
Okay, before I even say it, I'll just
Yep.
leave it at that, okay.
Caught that one.
Yeah, all right, good enough. And I think, yeah, so that's the copy of the middle school one. And then just one other thought I just had, and this is, with regard to first offenses and transferring a controlled substance to another person, lumped into that is non-prescription medications. And I don't know if that's something that's being addressed or not, like if somebody has, a Tylenol or something, and
You have to have a
it's
release, you have to have a release on file with the nurse in order to have that.
a 10-day suspension for sharing that is, seems a little bit harsh. But I'm not looking to change policy, and I was just clarifying and questioning, that's
Yeah,
all.
I think that's correct, actually, the way it's written.
Okay.
It encompasses any medication regardless of whether it's
yeah.
an aspirin or some other medication.
Okay, and this is the last one. Promise. The school's not responsible for kids until after 7:15 a.m. I know I drop my son off typically 5 past. The buses are already unloading.
I'm sorry, is this middle school?
Oh, this is still high school. I
Okay.
think this is still a high school. I apologize. Yeah, this would be the high school, page 13. I'm jumping back and forth. I apologize. It just says that you're not responsible for kids until 7:15, but I know they're getting dropped off. I know I dropped my son off at 5 past, and I don't know if should make it 7? Can you make it 7? Or?
I think it goes by times that teachers report to
Isn't that
school.
in the contract?
Yeah, it's contractual time teachers report to
Yeah.
work.
Oh,
15
okay.
minutes before the start of the school day.
What about administration, who would be?
Well, they're usually here, but it's
Yeah.
a big building. I mean, there's kids all over the place that are here earlier. I think that statement's important to keep that in, that if
Oh, so,
if a
right,
parent
yeah,
is,
yeah,
parent is
right.
dropping a student off,
Yeah.
then they have to be on their own responsibility.
Yeah, I can't imagine high school students can't take care of themselves for those 10 minutes anyway,
I
but
would
I
hope
just,
so.
Anyway, though, that's all I have. Thank you for your patience, and that's it.
Anyone else?
Can I add something to the, you're talking about giving an aspirin, students giving aspirins to other students.
Yeah.
And there's a good possibility that sometimes people are allergic to those kinds of things, where they could, end up with anaphylactic shock. So.
Right,
it's
the other
probably
side of
not
the
a
story,
very
that
good
makes
idea.
sense, yeah. Good point.
All in favor?
Aye.
Next item, MOA necessity of school construction application.
Motion to approve as presented.
Second?
Motion second, discussion? Having none, all in favor?
Aye.
If I can, I'd ask that committee members sign that tonight before they leave, if possible. Thank you.
Last item, job description, school nurse lead teacher.
Motion to approve job description, school nurse, leader, teacher, as presented.
Second?
Motion second, any discussion?
I have a question.
Yes.
The school nurse and RN, a registered RN,
Yes.
registered nurse? Yes, okay, thank you.
Anyone else?
And would this individual sit at the admin building?
No, this would be one of our school nurses who's acting as a lead teacher for the other school nurses, going to
so
state
she
meetings,
would be-
bringing
okay.
information back. There's a lot of state regulations and paperwork that needs to be done that encompasses all of our school nurses. So this
Right.
would be a stipended position for one of our current school nurses to act as a lead
So
school
it's the
nurse.
same, okay, so it's someone we already have who's
Yep.
able to go for it. Okay.
Correct.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Sure, yeah.
Item 13, committee comments on agenda items.
Mark, I just have one quick thing.
Yes.
I just wanted to let folks know that the Burrillville High School Athletic Advisory Boards are still meeting regularly. So there's one board with students and then one board with parents and coaches. So I think that's great, and I'm hoping those two groups continue to meet in next school year, because I think there's more discussion and more conversations that need to be had.
Anyone else? Okay. Item 14, pending issues. We have none before us. Item 15,
Motion to adjourn. Second.
motion is second, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you all.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.